Okay. Now that we are done with all this,
Oh, Brian.
so
Sounds like you've had a bit of a day.
I've had a bit of a day.
Yeah.
So that you are aware, there's going to be some movement on the docket pertaining to the chief of police being suspended pending felony charges. And what happens next is sort of in the realm of the the mayor's office and the LSPD to decide what they do in the interim. But
Okay.
it's going to be rather spicy.
Yeah, I figured as much when Kyle called me, but just as I was starting my day.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Well, are there any areas, questions that you have for us? I'm more than willing to answer them.
No, right. Okay. Any questions we got for Brian over this stuff with Kyle?
Actually, I do have a, I'll have a couple statements.
Okay, go on, go for it.
The Constitution of San Andreas ensures the right to dignity. And I wish I could bring up the MDT right now and read more verbatim, but everyone in San Andreas, irrespective of who they are, must and should be treated exactly the same. And as such, the decision by SASM, the decisions by SASM are being done in lieu of that. Simply having a badge does not put you above the law, and every individual, including myself, must be accountable when met by should be open to scrutiny, right?
Okay, and then can I ask, Brian, is this as a direct result of what was on the ACR, or is this a different matter?
No, it will unrelated. That's interesting. Was that inferred?
No, it's a question for Nora just now.
It was not. In fact, this movement began before that. And it's interesting you bring that up because some of those answers will be more clear in the docket filing. But the incident this relates to is one that occurred before the ACR incident occurred, and the gravity of the circumstances, as you will see yourself, are expansive enough that we're effectively forced to make a move.
Okay, all right,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then, one last thing, unrelated to this, well, kind of related but unrelated. Is it true that Eric Johnson, it was believed to be 90%ish a faceless asset, and that when he was taken on by BCSO, Carl Pred was against it?
That is inaccurate. That is a statement that was made during the ACR. Note that SASM does plan to obtain a transcript, as there was multiple statements that were made under oath that we believe to not only be unsubstantiated, reckless, and inaccurate, but I will address that directly. Barrick Johnson did attempt to get hired into SASM. He was swiftly declined as such. Secondly, the matter that was referenced by Pred in the newspaper pertained to Barrick being hired before that was brought to light, so I'll give you this stepwise, right? Instead of being so like proper. Barrick was hired at a time when Barrick was hired before the individual, whoever that is, would have even known that that allegation even was present. And upon us learning some of the details, it had become an active investigation as to the credibility. I, as director of SASM, was not comfortable enough, given that background, to give him employment in my department. However, it is not my prerogative to make that decision for any other department. With that being said, as with any other party, as oddly and hypocritically enough, when you match it with what happened with Pred here, is that there was a conversation with all members of high command, myself, Brittany Angel, Frost, etc., in which some of the accusations were detailed, and the BCSO was afforded a opportunity to review the allegations with the assistance of SASM. And after providing them with the details that we had, they conducted an investigation, and there was no finding of wrongdoing. In other words, the allegations were not found to be credible. There were suspicions, but there really wasn't any probable cause for that. However, prior to this occurring, the LSPD High Command, despite being well aware that there was a investigation pertaining to the matter, decided to disclose to everyone about the allegation, thus creating a circumstance where prior to an investigation being able to be conducted, the cat was already out of the bag. Now, mind you, if something like that were to happen today, SASM would be able to act as our resource count has increased. But at the time, we did not have the resources to respond as we would be able to appropriately, right? Typically, if someone is suspected of a crime, an investigation has to go underway to understand wrongdoing. However, if the individual being investigated is unilaterally alerted in advance, it sort of removes the credibility of the investigation, right? They can hide things, they can mask things, etc. But no, that's kind of where it came down. Yeah. In terms of SASM's position at the time, if we suspect someone having done a crime, we don't really like the notion of like speed running things or what's the other colloquialism that's used in court? Busting our nut too early. It is better to monitor and garner evidence so that we can come to a appropriate conclusion before jumping at it real quick. I mean, this would be the equivalency of, say, finding where the faceless are hiding guns and thinking we know where it is, but instead of monitoring it, going to that location and putting out a alert stating, hey, the faceless are selling guns here. Well, now you can't catch them in the act, can you? You know?
Oh, I can eat you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think the recollection I'm hearing is not only inaccurate, but rather reckless, to be honest.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Knight. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or is it?
No, that's going to be the big one. There's going to be a lot of these ongoings, I think. SASM is trying to handle IA circumstances as best as they can. Unfortunately, we are dealing with what we perceive to be a bit of an injustice, I think, where there is this ingrained notion that law enforcement should be treated different. And even with the position in and of itself that, you know, there is considerations that should be made when there's the belief, when there is probable cause for law enforcement committing felonious or corrupt acts. But there should be considerations. There should be considerations for the position. However, we do not believe any things like this should be rushed either, as at the end of the day, the victim isn't going to be the person, just the person that's being pointed at. The victims are going to be the civilians, the department that position oversees, and the victims whose voices are often not heard. And what I'm saying right there will become a lot more clear once the docket posting is up.
Okay, fantastic. And then I have one other question for you. It's on a lighter note, I think. I was a bit confused when I was going through social media today. Do you know who that person is that's licking Charlie's boot on that meme that's going around? Because I was thinking, is it Brandon?
I think it kind of looks like... I have an idea who it is, but I'm sort of like holding back on that because we're trying to verify ourselves, as that might lead to something, and I don't want to point fingers without knowing for sure. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I don't want to say it's
enough.
this person and it turns out it's someone else, because then all of a sudden someone may be painted as a potential threat when they may not actually be. So
They got a very big tongue. Jesus.
Yeah.
The size of his sole of his bloody boot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, right. Thanks, Mr. Knight. I appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you. All
Okay,
right.
see you later.
You take care. Bye. Do 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 do.